Hi, I'm Ian from IW Dental. We're based in the southwest of the UK. We're a full-service dental laboratory with approximately 12 staff. And I'd like to talk you through the journey of us incorporating digital dentistry in the laboratory. I think CAD/CAM's probably the best opportunity we've had as dental technicians over the last 25 years. We're already using scan as an outsourcing material to milling centres, but cost was always an issue with the milling centres, and when we saw the DWX50 we realised that bringing the milling in-house was going to reduce our costs and give us control, consistency and accuracy. Initially when we purchased the machine we gave ourselves 6 months to get over the learning curves of the machine and incorporate it into the workflow, but we found that within 2 weeks we were up and running and using it on a regular basis, and as we stand now the laboratory couldn't function without it. To be honest, since the machine started running after the initial 2-week period, we've never had any issues with it at all, and it's just run like clockwork. It took us a little while to get the workflow correct in the laboratory. When the impressions come into the laboratory, they spend 1 day in the plaster room having the models poured. The second day they are dye trimmed, scanned and the wax is milled. The work, once it's invested, is put in the furnace overnight and it's cast first thing in the morning, and then it is worked off in the morning, giving us a 2.5 day turnaround on the product, getting ready to have the porcelain put on it. We can get just under 40 units on a wax disc at a time, but quite often we'll put 1 disc onto mill during the day, possibly with zirconia in the afternoon, and then we'll put another disc on to mill overnight when we leave the laboratory. Nothing's changed in the plaster room at all. The work's done exactly the same way it always has been. Obviously we've had to incorporate time into the cycle to scan. We scan 6 units at a time on the scanner, allowing us to keep up with production and keep the volume of units going through to be put onto the machine. We found that the most useful time's overnight, when there's nobody in the laboratory and we can leave the machine to run overnight, meaning that the work's ready for the technicians when they come in the morning. And because of the accuracy of the machine, it means that there's very little to do once the technicians come in and sit down with their work in the morning. The wax is cut off the wax blocks and fitted down individually to the dies just to be checked and made sure in wax that there's nothing that we need to add, and then it's invested to be cast. This means that once the metal work's devested and ready to be finished, there's very little finishing to be done. By utilising the roll-in milling machine in our daily workflow, it's allowed me as a laboratory owner to free up 2 extra people in the laboratory who have gone on to do porcelain work, and it's allowed the 2 people that are now concentrating on the metalwork, scanning and milling to have a lot less labour-intensive day than they had initially, and they're still providing the work for 6 people. It has increased the amount that we can get through, and it's also increased the quality, because the old scenario of having a lab that was a busy lab taking in a lot of work was that the quality slipped. And by utilising the milling and the milling machine, the quality doesn't slip. It mills exactly the same every time and produces a fantastic product. We've had a lot of good comments from our client. We didn't initially advertise the fact that we were going to be milling in the laboratory, but we noticed from our clients responding, saying that the fit was so good on the work, that it was so consistent, and that they were finding that everything was just dropping into place. Now we openly advertise to our clients that we are using the digital processes for majority of our work, and it's providing a good quality product, and they can see it as well as us in the laboratory. It's also made our lives as technicians a lot better and a lot easier without being so labour intensive and under so much pressure in the laboratory. I would say that acquiring the DWX50 is probably the single best investment I've ever made in this laboratory, and the future of digital dentistry is the only way forward for us as a lab, and should be for all dental laboratories. I don't know how people can ignore it at this stage, because it's definitely the way forward.
Mein Name ist Akin Öztürk. Ich bin gelernter Zahntechniker und führe seit einem Jahr die Firma Mildent an. Wir sind ein Fräszentrum im Duisburger Zentrum. Wir produzieren und fräsen für Labore deutschlandweit und fräsen mit der Maschine Roland, fräsen aus Zirkon, PMMA, Wachs. Mein Tag hier bei der Firma sieht so aus, dass ich morgens oftmals mit Scannen anfange. Ich scanne die Modelle ein. Jetzt läuft der Scan-Vorgang. Er scannt Schritt für Schritt das ganze Modell ab. Und jetzt nach dem Scan starten wir mit der Modellation. Dafür starte ich jetzt die Software Exocad. Ich arbeite im CAD-Bereich mit der Software Exocad und bin damit sehr zufrieden, komme damit auch sehr gut klar. Und der Zusammenhang zwischen Exocad, der CAM und der Roland-Maschine ist für mich einfach perfekt. Hier haben wir jetzt die Scan-Daten und wir beginnen mit der Präparationslinie. Die Software erkennt die Präparationslinie komplett automatisch. Die Einschubrichtungen werden bestimmt, Zementspalt wird definiert, Randstärken werden modelliert. Danach werden die Bibliotheksszene eingeladen. Und jetzt wird in der richtigen Reihe platziert. Jetzt stellen wir die Zähne in die richtige Reihenfolge rein und adaptieren die Kronränder. Der zu lange Pontik wird jetzt geschnitten und die Kontaktpunkte, die zu starken Kontaktpunkte zum Gegenbiss, werden hier auch verringert. Hier können wir die Zähne nochmal manuell verändern. Das heißt, wir können einzelnen Höcker bewegen oder auch den ganzen Zahn bewegen. Und dadurch entstehen wieder Kontaktpunkte, wie du das blaue hier gesehen. Und gut zuletzt wird bei der Brücke, werden die Verbinder modelliert mit dem Brückenglied. Und wenn wir das auch gemacht haben, so, jetzt sind wir fertig mit der Konstruktion. Man ist nicht gebunden durch das System, sich eine eigene Kamm anzulegen oder man ist nicht gebunden durch die Materialien und die Fräsen, sondern es ist komplett offen. Man kann sich für jedes andere Material, für jedes andere CAM-Software entscheiden. Nach dem Modellieren gehen wir dann nun über zu dem CAM-Programm. Hier haben wir die modellierte Brücke. Ich brauche mindestens eine Höhe von 13,24 mm. Das heißt, ich kann die Brücke in einem 14er Rolling fräsen. Lade es ein und kann die Brücke dann auf dem Rolling platzieren. Wir platzieren es so gut es geht. Dann mache ich mir meine Verbinder. Nachdem wir die Verbinder gemacht haben, können wir jetzt in die Berechnung der Fräsbahn gehen. Und jetzt wird gefräst. Jetzt bestücken wir die Maschine mit dem Material. Jetzt suchen wir uns das Material aus, auf dem wir berechnet haben. Jetzt positionieren wir es in der Maschine und befestigen es mit der Halterung. Schön fest anziehen und die Schutzhülle für den Staub nicht vergessen, damit der Staub in der Maschine bleibt. Und jetzt können wir fräsen. Ich ziehe die Frässtrategie in die Maschine und starte. Das automatische Fräsen ist sehr wichtig und funktioniert auch wunderbar, da ich nach dem Starten der Maschine kaum noch was tun muss, bis die Krone fertig ist. Die Qualität unserer Arbeiten ist natürlich auch sehr dadurch beeinträchtigt, dass wir ständig die 5-Achs-Simultanfräsung benötigen. Dies auch natürlich sehr gut funktioniert und durch diese 5. Achse, die in der Maschine integriert ist und das simultane Fräsen, kriegen wir sehr gut unter sich gehende Stellen gefräst. So, die Arbeit ist fertig. Ich starte die Maschine auch natürlich abends, wenn ich nach Hause gehe, und wenn ich morgens früh komme, sind die Arbeiten alle in bester Qualität gefräst. Die Brücke wird abgetrennt. Verbinderstellen werden geglättet und der letzte Dreck wird ausgepustet. Und jetzt gehen wir in den Sinterofen. Die Brücke kommt auf die Sinterplatte und jetzt starten wir ein Programm, was 13 Stunden läuft und bis 1450 Grad hochheizt. Und morgen früh ist die Brücke fertig. Unsere Kunden sind sehr zufrieden mit unseren Arbeiten, da wir qualitativ sehr gute Passungen und sehr gute Modulationen an Arbeiten, Kronen, Brücken liefern. Und wenn wir solche positiven Eindrücke wieder mitbekommen, macht uns das natürlich sehr glücklich.
I'll run through the process. First of all, you cast your model like you do in normal crown and bridge. Then you'll put this model into a scanner. The scanner will take pictures of the model, and then you will design whatever you want onto that model. So for instance, if it's a bridge, you'll tell your scanner and software, I'm making a bridge, and you'll design it with your computer. Once you've designed it, you'll press a button, and that design will go into your CAD/CAM software. That is the software that runs your Roland milling machine. That tells the Roland where to cut, how to cut, where you want things cutting. So you'll put your design into, you'll see a disc on the screen like this. So you'll place your designs on the disc. It takes literally seconds. Press one more button, that's it, and you can forget about your jobs until it's finished milling, and you just take your disc out and there's your jobs. It's not a case of you can only use your disc once. If you've only got a few like this case, there's only 4 on this, it'll mill 4 out for you. You can take that disc out. The next time you've only got a few, this isn't wasted, you use this again. So all you do is make sure you position it in the same place. We put a line down the front, make sure it goes in the machine in the same position, and you can just pick up any disc that you want and just reuse that disc, whatever's left. So all your discs get fully used up, there's no wastage. On the wax disc we can fit about an average of about 28 units on a wax disc, depending on whether they're molars or anterior teeth. The zirconia, you can fit about 22 on a zirconia disc, because the zirconia ones are milled bigger than they need to be, and then when they're sintered, when they go in the furnace to be sintered, they shrink back. So because they're bigger, obviously you can't fit as many in, but still you can get about 22, maybe more if the small anterior teeth. You can push it to about 26, 27 sometimes. Depends on the cases really. Oh, it's very cost effective, yes. And I go back to the fact that it's cost effective if you can source your own materials for the discs. For instance, the zirconia, there's many places on the market you can buy zirconia. So obviously you choose the zirconia like you do with everything. You choose the one that suits you at the price that suits you and the quality that suits you. You don't want to be tied in with just one manufacturer. Another great benefit of this machine, and this as a technician is one of my favourite benefits, temporary bridges. I personally hate making temporary bridges. Temporary bridges used to be the bane of my life. I hated getting them. Now they're one of my favourite things, because we can design a temporary bridge on the software, press the button, and the machine will mill a temporary bridge. It's virtually finished. We just have to cut it off and polish it. These discs come in all different shades, so it's simple to just design a temporary bridge and polish it, and they're so much better than the ones, even though I'm very good, the machine can do them better. They're so much better than what I can do. I don't like to admit that, but it's the truth. It makes them to perfection. I love temporary bridges now, love them.